Pam, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
What were some of the things that stuck out for you when preparing the report on the toxic culture of the RCMP?
Well, when we were doing the research, we expected to find some similarities and some trends, but not to the extent that we did find. Like, every single report identified sexualized violence and racism in the RCMP. Every single report that we found was calling for some kind of external review, and that people address the predators, actually weed out the predators. Because the other thing we found that was shocking was that even though there's so many class actions, they in fact never got rid of the predators, the people who are committing the sex crimes.
How does the culture within the RCMP impact Indigenous women?
Well, think about it on two fronts. So within the RCMP, you've got some Indigenous women who are RCMP officers or contract staff, for example, and they were specifically targeted by RCMP officers, some of them presuming that they might have been abused when they were younger, so they'd be easier to target. And then think about Indigenous women and girls outside of the RCMP. And we know that the RCMP is the majority policing force of First Nations, for example. Not only have they fallen down on investigating murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, but they themselves have been engaged in acts of violent sexual assault against Indigenous women and girls with almost complete impunity. There's like no recourse for Indigenous women.
As you mentioned, there's been numerous reports, class action lawsuits over the years. What's it going to take for there to be change within the RCMP?
Well, I think that's the key question, right? Because all of this that's happening in the RCMP amounts to an abuse of power. For racial motives, sexual motives, whatever it is, it's an abuse of power. So you have to look at who has power over the RCMP, right? And this is the federal government. The federal government is the one that's tasked of making legislation, making regulations, overseeing its own institutions, and they've failed to step up and do that. So what we were trying to do is synthesize all of these reports, show Canadians that this isn't just about statistics, this isn't just about hiring practices. This is about real sexual violence, physical harm, and long-term mental trauma to thousands and thousands of women across the country, and they have a legal obligation to stop it.
As you say, politicians, including the minister in charge, say there is no place for the behaviors you described in the report and promise reform. What could they be doing?
Well, there's a lot of things they could be doing. So first of all, they could have done an investigation and weeded out the thousands of predators from across the country, because we know from some of the reports that there is sexualized violence in every RCMP unit at every level in every corner of Canada. They focus more on their public image, according to the Auditor General, and settling these claims than they have on weeding out the predators. If they did that, that alone would have a significant impact. But they also have to look at how they do policing, where they do policing, and truly independent oversight, because we don't have that now. So those kinds of things would go a long way towards ending the violence.
Pam, we'll have to leave it there, but important report. Appreciate you speaking with us about it.
Thanks for covering it.